By now, most South Africans are well aware that our president, Cyril Ramaphosa, has the political instinct of a man trying to play chess blindfolded on a trampoline. But just when you think he's settled for the low-risk brand of political incompetence, he decides to go for the deluxe package. In this latest masterstroke, Ramaphosa has essentially declared, in diplomatic terms, that South Africa stands ready to cozy up to Iran. Yes, that Iran. The Iran whose government has turned religious persecution into a national sport. The Iran where Christian communities have been nearly erased. The Iran whose leadership doesn't even enjoy the support of its own citizens, ruling instead through fear, violence, and the ever-present threat of death. And just in case anyone thinks this is a misunderstanding or a cultural difference, no. The regime's brutality is not up for debate. Even Iranians who fled the country speak openly about welcoming outside intervention just to be free of their own government. That's the kind of friend Ramaphosa thinks we should stand shoulder to shoulder with. Iran's government recently gushed about the political commonalities between their country and ours. On paper, South Africa is still a democracy with human rights protections. Iran is not. So what's the shared value here? It certainly isn't democracy. It isn't respect for freedom of speech, religion, or press. The only real commonality is one both governments are too proud to admit: a growing disdain for the West, particularly the United States. This is the kind of bond you'd expect to hear about between two mob bosses over whiskey and cigars. Except in our case, it's being done in public, under the watchful eye of an already skeptical international community. The diplomatic consequences of aligning with Iran are massive. America is already turning up the heat on South Africa over human rights concerns. Add a visible friendship with Iran into the mix, and suddenly, we're not just a problematic partner. We're a potential target for sanctions. And it wouldn't stop with America. By standing with Iran, South Africa risks alienating much of the West entirely. That means trade restrictions, lost markets, and investment flight. We'd be left clinging to our BRICS partners like a drunk man holding onto a bar stool, and even they wouldn't stick their necks out too far for us. Russia and China have their own problems, and India's priorities aren't built around rescuing South Africa from its own diplomatic suicide mission. Now imagine the nightmare scenario. Iran gets itself into a war, and drunk on ideological solidarity, Ramaphosa offers support. We must be brutally honest here. The SANDF, South African National Defense Force of 2025, is a pale, rusting ghost of the formidable fighting force South Africa had before 1994. Back then, whether you agreed with the politics or not, the military was disciplined, trained, and capable of projecting power. Today, Air Force, grounded aircraft, pilots with minimal flight hours, and maintenance budgets so thin you'd think they were written on cigarette paper. Navy, ships that sail about as often as Halley's Comet passes by, with engines that spend more time in dry dock than in open water. Army, low morale, outdated gear, and training that struggles to maintain even basic operational readiness. Logistics. If we tried to send a combat force overseas, we'd need to hire commercial carriers. And they'd still arrive late, undersupplied, and underarmed. If Ramaphosa actually tried to send help to Iran, the only real risk to the enemy would be laughter. How it would play out, the six-step embarrassment plan. The big speech. Ramaphosa solemnly announces that South Africa will stand with Iran in its time of need. Cue applause from Iran, face palms from everyone else. The call-up. In a grand act of patriotism, conscription is reintroduced. Allegations fly that whites, opposition voters, and anyone not towing the ANC line are targeted first. The refusal wave. Citizens ignore call-up papers. Airports are full of people leaving with one-way tickets to Perth, London, and anywhere that doesn't require dying for Tehran. The logistics meltdown. SANDF planners discover we can't actually get troops to Iran without borrowing transport aircraft from, well, probably Iran. The international backlash. The US and EU hit us with sanctions. BRICS partners offer polite nods but no meaningful assistance. SA's already struggling economy takes a sledgehammer to the knees. The political collapse. The GNU cracks under pressure. Civil unrest grows. Calls for Ramaphosa's resignation flood the streets. This is the part that should infuriate South Africans the most. The Government of National Unity isn't just a symbolic handshake agreement. It's supposed to be a check on reckless governance. The DA, IFP, and other coalition partners have the ability to stop this. They could demand a parliamentary debate on our foreign policy alignment, publicly condemn the president's statement, threaten to walk from the coalition if such policies continue, Instead, they're silent. And silence in politics is complicity. Every day, the GNU partners stay quiet. They're signaling that they're either unwilling or incapable of reining in the ANC's worst impulses. This isn't about liking or disliking America. It isn't about Iran's right to sovereignty. It's about South Africa's self-interest. Cozying up to a regime as internationally toxic as Iran serves no strategic advantage for us. It risks our trade relationships, worsens our already dire economy, and ties our political fortunes to a sinking ship. And for what? To show that we won't be bullied by the West? To stand in solidarity with a government that terrorizes its own people? It's a lose-lose situation dressed up as some kind of ideological victory. And if the GNU can't stop Ramaphosa from walking us into it, then they're not partners in governance. They're passengers on the same bus, watching as he drives it straight toward a cliff. South Africa doesn't need another geopolitical gamble. It needs stability, economic growth, and a foreign policy that opens doors rather than slamming them shut. Right now, all Ramaphosa is offering is a fast track to isolation, and a very public reminder that our once proud military couldn't fight its way out of a wet paper bag. And the worst part? He's doing it with a smile. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.